Okay, we're going to take a crack at disassembling this LED 9A19 bulb. There are other bulb disassembly things on YouTube that had a different style bulb that you could twist off. This doesn't look like you can do that. Tried twisting. I don't think this one's made out of glass, but... So we're going to chuck this in the lathe and use a cough tool to cut it right at the border there, and hopefully we'll be able to glue it back together after the repair is made, if it's repairable. Well, holding it by the screw base wasn't so good idea. Kind of worked loose, so moved it into the chuck further, grip it by the plastic body, see if we get it apart that way. Okay, so here we are. Turned out I was cutting a little bit too low. I started noticing metal, so I cut right above the white plastic into the opaque plastic, cut at that point, finished cut there. And as you see, we got the top off, and there is the portion with the LED dies, and I assume the rest of the power supply is buried deeper in the base. There's two screws. But before I take it apart, maybe it's just a blown LED die. There's one, let's get a little pointer here. This one right here looks like it's a little bit brown. It may be open circuit. So let's get out the ohm meter and make some checks. Alright, ohm meter didn't shows open, but then again, the even when the diode function, those little dies may not conduct until you get 2 volts across them. So we're going to plug it in, power it up, but not directly into the wall socket. Over here, plug it into the isolation transformer, make it safer to play with. And we measured the voltages and we got nothing. So I guess we have to take it apart further. Okay, well, we didn't have much luck with getting it apart yet, but hey, since we got the power supply from inside the bulb disconnected, we'll just clip lead an external DC supply to the LED array and start turning up the voltage on it and see what we get. Woohoo! Well, you know, at about 100 volts DC input, the sucker lights up. So the only thing we have to do is figure out how to get the rest of it apart and repair the AC to DC power supply inside. Okay, here's a view looking through the bottom end with the base removed. I'm not too worried about getting it going again, and just solder a bit of extra wire onto that and solder it into the board and coil up the excess inside when we put it back together. There's a wire turn here. There's the wire that goes to the shell. So now we got to figure out how to get the rest of this apart. How to get this. It looks like it's glued on with something. But that circuit board has to obviously come out. I believe the screws I removed actually go to that circuit board underneath. So that's the next step. Try to get that apart. All right, here we go. Well, took it to the shop, punched it out, and the and I thought that piece looked like it kind of like was pressed in there. And it went flying across the corner of the shop, never to be seen again. Maybe 20 years from now when I clean up the shop, might find it. But in any case, here's the part that's the goner. Notice here how burned up the circuit board is. And on the top side, fusible resistor, another resistor, 510 ohm resistor, MOV, some capacitors, and then a big, relatively big lytic on the output. But here on the other side, well, we started making some checks here. The bridge rectifier on the input, that's good. Checks good with the diode function test. It's a working bridge rectifier. But we finally get to this guy here, an 8-pin surface mount device. It's probably the magic. That's the DC to DC converter. I did a real close-up with a magnifying glass. You cannot read a part number on it. And I figured that's what's gone. And so this is a write-off. But the postmortem is, I believe the problem is you cannot burn these bulbs base up because all the heat from the LEDs, which sits here, just goes right up the board, and there's no place for it to go because it's in an enclosed, totally enclosed envelope. And that's why these burn up. And because the ones I have in a table lamp where they burn base down have, from the same batch, are still going strong. So my next hack, I'm going to drill some vent holes in the replacement fixture. And we'll show you what that looks like, and we'll see if that extends the life by giving it some airflow through it.